Welcome back to Third Win Thursdays. I'm Scott Hibbard. I'm joined by John and Eric, partners at TWG. This is Third Win Thursday number 4 on April 13th, 2023. How we doing, gentlemen?
Back at it.
Feeling great. Eric and I just had a nice long partner talk, and so we might be ready to fight today on live on screen. But hey, I'm sure it's going to be a great episode. Hope everybody out there who's watching in or listening in is having a great Thursday.
Yes, we start our Third Win Thursdays off with some good strategy talk on Thursday mornings, and we liked it today. We definitely brought all the energy, so we're ready for you now, Scott.
Awesome. Well, to start off the week, I wanted to bring up something that we touched on last week, which was the Live Golf and PGA Masters. The PGA Masters with the involvement of Live Golf. And there's a tweet that went kind of viral when Brooks Koepka took the lead, and I wanted to share that with you guys now. And here it is. And some people decided to make some memes about it, which I thought perfectly encapsulated the energy behind the involvement of Live Golf in the Masters. But they're not
getting emotional over at the PGA Tour at all about Live Golf. God forbid they have to compete at all and not have an unregulated monopoly. But hey, they are lucky. Sorry, Scott, to steal your thunder. They are lucky that
go ahead.
The man, the myth, the legend, Jon Rahm, steamrolled Brooksy on Saturday and Sunday.
100%.
I saw a pretty funny tweet that said we should start a petition to trade Patrick Cantlay back for Brooks Koepka on the PGA Tour and the Live Golf event.
That was your pick for last week. So
and then
how you feeling about that?
Saw a bunch of memes about everyone complaining that Cantlay might be the slowest golfer on tour, and honestly, it kind of cracked me up that apparently Brooks Koepka was complaining the whole time, just like putting his hands up, like, why is this guy so slow? I heard the amateur Sam Bennett was also like trying to pick between like 3 clubs on every shot, and everyone playing with him and behind him was just like, this guy's killing us. He is killing us.
Solution: shot clock for golf. Hey, everybody's doing it. MLB's doing it.
Yes.
Shot clock for golf. What's that guy's name? Kevin Na, who is like notorious for like standing over his shot. Sergio Garcia is another one. It's like, imagine if those guys had like 15 seconds on the tee box to like just take a swing, buddy. And like that would definitely change golf. It would be a little bit more Happy Gilmore-ish, I feel like, which is what Live Golf has been trying to do. It's just like, yeah, like we're catering to the Barstool audience with golf. Like, of course. Where the PGA Tour is like, yeah, we're clearly not. We don't want anything to do with those guys. Like, we're old school tradition. The Masters are tradition unlike any other. And it's very interesting to see it play out because, like, the fact is, golf is actually doing really well, right? You look at Top Golf is going nuts. And, like, the mass appeal of golf has really never been better. Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy are coming up with this new, like, indoor golf simulator league, right? So there's innovation going on in the sport. It's funny, though, to just watch the PGA Tour kind of squirm and be like, "Oh, what? There's a competitor on the marketplace."
You don't like change?
Nobody change really. Very few people like change, but golfers and golf institutions are among the most hesitant and fearful of change.
Yes.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Now we promised last week that we would make our Champions League picks and put Mr. Baseball over here on the spot. So with that being said, John, what are your picks?
You better say DC United.
I've done a lot of homework, guys, and that meant going on the Champions League website and seeing who's in the tournament, who's winning this morning. And I'm going with Man City over Real Madrid. Let's be honest. Erling Haaland is scoring more goals than pretty much anyone ever has scored in a single season. Man City is a wagon. Real Madrid is also a wagon. And I don't know how many – does anyone call clubs on European soccer wagons, or is that like more of a hockey thing? But anyway.
But yeah.
Man City
champions
is going to bring it home. They're missing the Champions League, right? They've won Premier League a number of times, right? But they haven't won a Champions
They've
League.
won the Champions League before, yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure. But
there you go. That's what I got.
With Man City. He hasn't won it since he had the blessings of Messi winning him a Champions League many years ago now.
Yep. But I'm actually surprised, John. That was my final matchup, and I do think Man City's gonna win. But let me make an exception here. I'm a United fan, so it's gonna hurt me. But hey, we have to accept that other teams will be better than you at some point.
I'll put my bet in for one of the 3 Italian teams left in the tournament. I'll root for Napoli. Used to have my boy Diego Maradona on the team. Go Argentina. And so I'll give them some support. It'd be nice to see one of the – it's funny to call Inter Milan or AC Milan like one of the lower teams, but compared to the notoriety and fame of the Man Cities, the Bayern Munichs, the Real Madrids of the world, I'll wave the Italian flag in the Champions League this year.
Very nice.
What's your final match? Let's get the pick.
Let's go with Napoli City. Napoli
for the win.
Yeah, Napoli for the win, baby. Napoli for the win.
That would be pretty glorious.
You can clip that now, Scott.
All right, perfect. And now back to the comfort zone, John. Playoffs are coming up. The play-in, half of the play-in games have already been played. But what are you thinking there?
Well, I mean, the favorites in the NBA almost always come out on top, which makes it kind of boring to make picks. You know, I love Milwaukee. I love Giannis. Giannis is just a legend, a living legend in my mind. Just one of the best mindsets, one of the best stories, just a dominant player in the postseason. However, I'm going to go with a matchup in the finals that I think would be a lot of fun to watch. And it's a little bit old school. We're going big man versus big man. We're going Philadelphia versus Denver. Embiid versus Jokic. 2 of the most skilled, most dominant big men who've been going back and forth for MVPs. Now Embiid is extra pissed off because he's lost the last 2 MVPs to Jokic. I know like Philly has failed so many times in the playoffs recently, but it's one of those things where it just feels like Philly is motivated. Philly has lost the World Series. They lost the Super Bowl this year. I think the Sixers win the NBA title with Joel Embiid as the NBA Finals MVP. How do you like that? How do you like them apples, fellas?
Ooh. That's an interesting call there. I do like the Denver pick. Something tells me that no major market city is going to make the NBA Finals. No offense to the people of Denver, but you're not a major market. Just the city in the mountains. But I see Denver. And on the East, man, I don't know. It's a toss up, and I feel like the East is always not as threatening as the West. But
it's flipped this year though.
I don't think I can get behind Philly though, John. I don't think I can get behind Philly.
Look, I actually am not a fan of Philly at all. Like I actually kind of hate Philly. I'm trying to pick something like if I nail this pick, it'll be sweet though.
I will. I'll make a first round upset pick, and I would love for the Hawks to pull off the upset over the Celtics.
Wow.
Probably not a good choice for the betting man, but I would love for Atlanta to beat Boston.
They're probably like plus 3,000, Eric. That's a huge upset.
Yeah, I know it is, but I'm a big Trae Young fan. Got some family down in Atlanta, so let's go Hawks, baby.
I gotta go against you there, Boston faithful.
Of course.
So I'm gonna take the Celtics to the final. Do I believe that's truly gonna happen? We'll see.
I'm
But
also
yes,
I will add one more thing. I'm very upset at the Los Angeles Clippers. They had one thing to do for me. I will be in Los Angeles next week. They were supposed to get the 4 over the 5 seed, but now instead they're going to be traveling. I was trying to blow my winnings from the Hawks upsetting the Celtics on some Clippers tickets. Can't do that anymore.
so I'm going Celtics in the East and then Suns in the West.
Nice.
But I don't know. I feel like they've got a bone to pick after last year, and then KD joining in. It's gonna be interesting. So Celtics Suns.
That's a sound pick, Scott, because in the NBA, you really look at who wins the titles. It's the biggest stars, right? It's the biggest stars. And, you could argue that the Celtics have 2 massive superstars and the Suns have 2 massive superstars. And it's like, if you're in game 6 or game 7 of a Western Conference, Eastern Conference finals, the finals, who do you want to get a bucket? How about Devin Booker and Kevin Durant? How about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? I mean, you could do a lot worse than that quartet right there. So nice pick, Scott. I just feel like it's the year of the big net. I'm just gonna throw it out there. You're the big net.
All right.
We'll see. We'll see what comes to fruition. Hopefully we can pull up receipts very soon. But
in June, in like 3 months when the NBA playoffs is done.
Exactly. But anyways, now that we have made our picks, we're going to jump into the headlines for the week. So it's your time to shine, gentlemen, and get out that strategy anger that you guys were talking about.
We got some spicy ones this week too, do we not? Let's go.
Yes,
Can't wait.
Yeah, we're throwing a lot of soccer your way, John, but I know you always have something to say. So
I can hang.
Exactly. So here we go with the first one.
Soccer indeed. Oh, John, I'm going to take this one for the audio listeners. Lionel Messi back to Barcelona. Political, complicated, but very real. We're checking out an Athletic article here for the legend, the GOAT, the man himself, Lionel Messi, who is currently stranded, I would say, playing for one of the best teams in Europe, PSG, Paris Saint-Germain. And let's just say ever since Messi won the World Cup against France, he has not gotten a nice reception playing for PSG. He's still getting goals, still getting assists, but the French can't respect the GOAT now that he took away another World Cup from him. So I am all on board. There is so many issues that Barcelona is having as a club economically and scandals that are ravaging the club that I think, one, they need to do whatever they can to just get Lionel Messi back in the house that Leo built, bring him back, let him do what he needs to do up until the next World Cup. That'll distract people from all the chaos happening in the club, and it has to be a positive step forward for him. So whatever has to happen, Laporta, just get Messi back in.
This is a classic case, Eric, of grass isn't always greener syndrome, or grass is greener syndrome, where it was like, things are going to be great for Barcelona. Like I was reading this article and it looked like some of his former teammates were like, it's going to be better for Barcelona if they move on from Messi. Now, of course, Messi's father is his agent. So that complicates all the negotiations and all the different politics that surround this generational player. I'm just like, the money shouldn't have been an issue for him in the first place, right? I mean, the guy's made enough money. The guy will make enough money for many, many generations of Messi's, right? He would have enough money just from his endorsements alone. So I'm feeling like, look, why don't you make the story? Why don't you end the story of your career the best way possible? There was a quote from this article too, where it was like, beautiful stories in life need to have a good ending or a happy ending, right? I'm like, all right then, Messi, just take the pay cut. Take the pay cut, go back to Barcelona, play 2 more seasons, ride off into the sunset. Don't end your career with French people booing you while you're still one of the great players of all time.
Yeah, amen to that. And, to add on to he's already set. MLS has pretty much offered him to buy a franchise when he's ready. He's got a house down in Miami. He's got a LLC in the United States set up. So his team around him has made sure that his business is all right. And I think he just needs to go out and enjoy playing the game a few more years in Barcelona. Then he can come to DC United and we can come cheer him on at Audi Field every night.
Awesome. All right, now money talk, gents.
Ooh.
Here you go.
Show me the money, Scott. Show me the money. All right. After $250 million in retail sales, Prime Hydration looks to youth sports. Prime's deal with Base Sports Group will promote its drinks across 60 youth sports events. Logan Paul said Prime Hydration made $250 million in retail sales in its first year. You got to be kidding me with this. Hold on. Are you kidding me? $250 million in his first year? All right, Eric. I mean, what do you think about this? This is a classic case of influencer-owned, influencer-led sports brands and like just corporations in general. But this is staggering, these numbers.
Yeah, you want to talk about the power of YouTube and the power of kids influencing what their parents purchase. And who would have thought Logan Paul and KSI fighting a few years back would lead to $250 million in sales? Someone on their business team is definitely saying they saw this coming. But I mean, it was funny. Scott sent us this article, and the day before, I had my wife, the fourth grade teacher, tell me that she is so tired of seeing these Prime energy drinks because it's all the kids drink. They take them everywhere. And then I see this and I'm like, oh, they're making $250 million in sales. Of course, they're all over the schools. So this is just, the content creator world come to realization of the fact that there was money out there. Call Mr. Beast and see what he's done. So now you add Logan Paul to that list. There's so many different types of people who started out as influencers in a way, and now you see them capitalizing on the opportunities in front of them. So more power to him. I can't say I was going to believe in him and thought that he'd make this much money, but if you build it, the kids will come.
I mean, look, you want to talk about case studies from the creator economy. This is a case study from the creator economy. All right. Who was Logan Paul 5 years ago or 10 years ago? Nobody. Nobody had ever heard of him. Then he started basically being an asshole online for a living. And he's now built a company that did $250 million in sales in his first year. Now, I don't know too much about the company. I don't know much about the product. I've read that the product is really very unhealthy. So the fact that they're targeting youth sports is just like another, look, this is not necessarily a good thing that this company is succeeding. It's just, this is a symptom of the culture. All right. We're in an influencer culture, whether we like it or not. We're in a social media influencer culture. All right. And who influences the culture? The people who have the most attention, the people who have the most engagements. Right. Yeah. And look, I give them credit, right? To be able to pull this off is incredible. To be able to do this in 1 year is incredible. It just shows, and this is what we talk with our clients about a lot, all the time, the power of, going direct to consumer, right, through YouTube and through social media, and then converting that audience and that attention into owned assets, right? This is clearly the playbook, all right? Now, does it mean you have to be an asshole on the internet to actually do this? I mean, I guess so. If that's what the results are speaking for themselves, I would just love to see the culture would be a little bit, had a few better, shall we say, role models, right, than Logan Paul. I don't think too many parents are actually thrilled that Logan Paul has this much influence over their kids.
Yep. It made me. You started talking about the creator economy. It made me also think of when SeatGeek was partnering with David Dobrik, and I ran into him just because of the millions of SeatGeek commercials I would be in. Like, who the heck is this guy who's just acting a fool? Found the business model.
Yeah, I mean, look, we don't have to condemn anybody. This is just the way things are, right? The way things are going right now is if you can produce shock and awe on the internet, you can make a shit ton of money. That's what Logan Paul has proved. Now, just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do a thing. And I'm certainly not going to be representing anybody. We're not going to be representing anybody like Logan Paul. But this is just the reality. It's a really interesting headline. It's getting me a little bit fired up. It's happening. Is it good or bad?
Yeah.
Probably a little bit of both. But, man, it's like what yet another sports drink with too much sugar and too much energy that's targeting kids. That's my takeaway from this. Like, what the hell? What the hell is going on in our culture?
Oh.
And it's interesting you say that, Eric, because one of the things that like I was told when I came here to Europe is that there's so much supply and inventory in the US of Prime, which has also made it a lot cheaper versus here in Europe. There's like a very limited supply, especially of like particular flavors that are very popular, which has actually raised the price of Prime in like Europe, and like in the
Wow.
US it's very cheap. So there's even people that like buy off the US to bring it to Europe because it's cheaper than just like buying your Prime energy drink at whatever store you have here. So there you also see the supply demand curve and how that is probably impacting those numbers right there. But anyways,
talking about economics is a perfect segue, Scott, for our last headline.
exactly. So here you go.
Whew.
All right. How the Federal Reserve is complicating the Commander's sale. Commander's sale process has been impacted by interest rates that have climbed to levels not seen since 2007. What happened right after 2007? Typically, those part of a winning bid borrow against assets to complete a purchase of a pro sports team. All right, Eric. I mean, I could go for an hour on this, but we've got 2 to 3 minutes. Where do we begin?
You're telling me that when you buy a team for $500 million, you don't just take it out in cash and hand over $500 million? What?
Crazy.
It's insane. But it's kind of I don't know the word for it. Not ironic, but it's interesting that we talk a lot about economics and the macro, how everyone's kind of being affected, but you start to really hear about economics and the issues with society when the people who have a lot of money are also struggling to make even more money and to handle their money. And so that's when you start to see sadly, that's when real change kind of comes out, when the people with the bigger pockets start to get impacted and affected in a negative way. And so this is just one example to me of a lot of different types of acquisitions and purchases that are being made in sports teams and real estate all over the place. But you're starting to see where the lending to be able to purchase these things is going to have a lot of ramifications that we'll see some of them and we won't see a lot of them in terms of like on an individual basis and in our wallets. But this is it's going to be an interesting way to see how this plays out, to see if anybody actually wants to be able to fork up what's needed to buy a sports team. Like we talked about many times on this show, there's a lot of teams that are up for sale now, and supply and demand is a big issue here.
Well, look, one thing that this tells me is anybody who wants to get wealthy, all you need to do is make more than you earn, buy and hold assets, and borrow against those assets. All right. This is what wealthy people do. All right. You want to know the playbook? The playbook is you own as many assets as possible. And usually, wealthy people just pass down assets from generation to generation. They don't just hand over a bunch of cash. Just take a wealthy person, patriarch or matriarch dies and a bunch of cash goes to the family. No. Assets go to the family. All right. And there are tax loopholes that make it easier for wealthy people to pass assets from generation to generation. Now, let's talk about the Fed for a second. The Fed has been raising interest rates. All right. What does that mean? That means that we can't borrow money at 0% anymore. All right. And one thing we don't talk about enough in business, in society, in our relationships is about money and the monetary system. The monetary system is based on debt. All right. And there's a lot of freaking debt sloshing around out there.
Yes, there is.
Why does interest rates such an important thing? Why is the Fed such an important thing? It's because when interest rates go up, all of a sudden money gets tighter. All right. There isn't all this cash just floating around in the system. And inevitably, all of the debts that we've racked up as a government, as businesses, they come due, right? They come due, and all of a sudden people can't pay them anymore. And then we have defaults on loans. Then we have bank runs. It's the same playbook that's happened over and over and over again under the Federal Reserve System. So you saw that date, 2007 was the last time the Fed has hiked interest rates this high. Well, in 2008, we had the global financial crisis. All right. Yes. And a lot of economists, a lot of people are saying we're in even worse position now than we were in 2007. All right. So look, I don't want to be a doom and gloom guy. I'm a reality guy. I'm a pragmatic businessman. Mm-hmm. All right. Things are going to break. If you're seeing fewer and fewer wealthy people being able to even bid for, a franchise like the Washington Commanders, which is definitely worth, pretty much every penny, right? Then think of how bad things are for small businesses. Think of how bad things are for lower middle class people, working class people. It's going to be rough. And look, things are already breaking. The Silicon Valley Bank collapsed just a few weeks ago. All right. That has to do with debt, not being able to pay their debt and having to sell a bunch of assets, right, to meet the deposits in their bank, right, and sell all their assets at a loss, right? I could go on, but the monetary system is based on debt. And when the debt gets more expensive and interest payments go up, all of a sudden people have to sell assets to meet their debt obligations, right? And we're going through the cycle once again, right? And people are going to hurt. And we don't really realize, I would say 95, 98% of the population doesn't even know how this system works.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
It's unbelievable that we just keep doing things the same way and expect a different result. And I hate to say it, like, this isn't really about the Washington Commanders.
No.
Right? This is about our economic system and its fundamental flaws, right? It's fundamentally based on continually increasing the amount of debt and continuously increasing the amount of consumption, right? And those incentives lead to the society that we get, right? People are all acting in their own self-interest. And if the playbook is borrow a bunch of money and buy a bunch of assets and hold the assets, then everybody's going to try and do that, right?
Yep.
But does that mean that the economy is better? Negative,
sir.
No, the economy is about productivity, goods, and services. All right. Does everyone have, the capacity to live a decent life? All right. Is everyone able to trade freely their goods and services? Does everyone have kind of enough, right? Like, a healthy economy is where most people, a large majority of people have enough, right? And feel comfortable, right? That they can meet their basic needs without having to kill themselves working, right? So this is clearly why I went over 3 minutes, but
you're on it though, John. You're on it because it's how everything gets impacted by money. Say money can't buy happiness, but when money gets messed up, it can mess with a lot of things that people are trying to do to get to that happiness. And yeah, this story is not even just about the Commanders or even about interest rates, but it's really about the ramifications that we could see coming down the line. And there's a reason last week we talked about Sinclair Broadcasting missing $140 million interest payment. They didn't just miss that payment because they were like, we don't feel like paying it this week. There are a lot of things that led to that. And to kind of sum up everything you've been saying, it just makes me think how a lot of this is, it doesn't hit people in their wallet immediately, so they don't really connect with it in a way. And they're just like, okay, that's just, they're talking about big numbers or whatever. They're talking about the federal government debt. They're talking about this business folding. That doesn't impact me. But I truly don't believe in the idea of trickle-down economics, but the negative impacts that a business can have can trickle down to the individual's wallet. And that's where the issues will come in the future. And that's why you're seeing so much more, tightening of assets and opportunities that are out there. And it's all about finding the right people who you can trust and finding the right ways to, again, earn what is yours, whether it's your name, image, likeness value, whether for a business, it's the revenues that you want to be bringing in, for larger entities, connecting with the audiences that you want to connect with. All of that helps kind of combat the money issues and the lending issues that are we're seeing a lot more prevalent today and over the last few months.
And one final thing, Eric and Scott, which is sports and entertainment is leisure, right? And we can only really enjoy leisure in society when society is functioning properly. And, there isn't this huge gap between the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
Like, effectively, if we don't have, if civilization is not functioning properly, if government is failing, if people can't afford basic goods and services, then sport and entertainment's going to suffer as well, right? Like, people are going to be worried about their next meal or keeping a roof over their head, not like, oh, can I snag tickets to the Commanders game this weekend, right? So all of this stuff is interconnected. Money is really, really at the base of everything. And if the money is screwed up, that's going to screw up everything else. Yeah. All right. Soapbox over.
Welcome to Economics with John and Eric.
Well, I won't have you guys comment on it, but I will show a little bit of positivity this week.
Let's go.
And that's
good use
that
of
Austin FC and Q2, which is their title sponsor, started a Dream Starter competition, which is meant to help entrepreneurs with underprivileged background get essentially seed funding. It's $100,000 to
huge
propel their business, which is very important, like you guys mentioned at this time.
Hey, Scott, one thing I just want to add for this, man, is that's good use of resources, right? That Austin FC, Q2, and this competition coming together, it's going to be a game changer for somebody. It's going to be a game changer for even the finalists who don't get awarded the money, for them to be able to do that pitch, for them to be able to get out there, for them to, again, potentially get that funding from the organization, to get that awareness that it's going to change someone in some business's life. So more power to Austin for using the money in the right way.
Look, I can tie this in real quick, Scott, which is entrepreneurship is all about ownership. You start a business so that you can own your work, right? You can own the asset, the underlying asset behind your work. So I love it. It's one of the things that has always been like America always talks about, like, oh, there's an opportunity, entrepreneurship, go out on your own. Like, anybody can make it. Well, the reality is you need resources if you're going to go out on your own. And I like what Austin FC and Q2 are doing here, which is like, hey, we have some resources to help entrepreneurs get off the ground, have a little bit of capital so that they can own their asset well into the future, assuming they're successful. So kudos to them. Perfect third win, built right into a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
Well done.
Exactly.
Well done, everybody down there.
Well, that is our third win, and that wraps up today's Third Win Thursday. Thank you, gentlemen, for bringing the energy and
always
a deep conversation on the impact of the economy. So
today
always good.
Today we talked about soccer, sales, and money. That's a good day.
What else is there? Right?
Good day.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. And thank you for joining John and Eric, as always. And we will see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, people. Peace. Yes.